Hi, and welcome back to my layoff journey. We are on cruise number 2 on this series of sea cruises of the Carnival Conquest. I wanted to take this opportunity to go through some of the ports that we've gone through. These last 2 cruises we've visited 8 ports. Those were Aruba, Bonaire, Curaçao, Antigua, St. Lucia, Grenada, Barbados, and St. Maarten. St. Maarten, if you've seen any of my shorts, was probably one of my favorite ports ever. Very beautiful place, nice convenient beach, and a lot of shopping right in the area. It's a little water taxi that you can take, and it makes it really nice and convenient. Also, I do want to say, don't leave out Bonaire, because that's probably a very, very close second. So let's go through these ports together, and hopefully you can make some decisions on what you want to do and what you would like to see while you're in those ports.
Hi, my name is James, and I'd like to welcome you to my layoff journey. So the first port that we're going to talk about is going to be Aruba. So in Aruba, this was my second time at this port, so I knew somewhat what to expect because the first time my wife and I came and we rented a car and we went around this entire island more than twice. And there's some really interesting things to see. There's a lot of things that you can see that are free. And most of those things are all covered on all of these excursions. Now, I don't fault anyone for taking an excursion because it is just a handy way to jump on a bus, see a few things, and come back to the ship. In this one in particular, it was almost every single thing that you will see on every other excursion. Now, you can buy these excursions on the ship, off the ship. The island is very small. I seriously doubt that you're ever going to have problems getting back to the ship on time. So you can kind of make that call yourself as well. One of the first things that we went to here was the lighthouse that's on the north end of the island. Now, this lighthouse, you can go in it. There is a fee, and that seems to be being taken from a little van that's there. They also do a charge if you want to go up in the lighthouse. What they'll do is they have a drone that they'll also fly up and take a little video of you at the top of the lighthouse. So I don't know who this is sanctioned by, but it's just kind of out of a little van that's sitting there. There's also, in this same area, there's a little van that sells snacks and drinks. So if you're thirsty at any point, you can find something there. The lighthouse, it is pretty interesting looking, but you can see kind of what the landscape is like here. So this is just, there's tons and tons of cactus here. When you're driving around this island, you would honestly think that you're in an old Clint Eastwood movie. There are so many large cactus that you don't even realize that you're on an island any longer. I thought this was interesting because you can see all of the birds here that are out in this cactus, and they were there the first time I went here. And I guess it's just a super safe place for those birds to be, but tons of birds there. And then there is a restaurant that is also, it's Faro Blanco. Very, very nice restaurant. First time that I went here, it was okay for anyone to come inside because they do have a lookout on the backside of the restaurant where you can kind of look out at the water, look up and down the coastline, because you can see a lot of the resorts that are up this way, and also some really nice homes that are up this way. But there's a restaurant. You can get something to drink if you happen to have time. This particular excursion, there was no time given. I think we had 15 minutes is about what we were given at this stop, and that was to see the lighthouse, this restaurant, take pictures out and about. So that was about it for this stop. But you can see here where you can see out and see the coastline. And if you look here in a moment, right down there, that would be looking down towards the southern end, and that is going to be where a lot of the resorts are. Really pretty water. So, second stop on this tour was a glass blowing display exposition. It was interesting if you like glass blowing, which is part of the title of the excursion. When you do book it, you do understand that there is something that has to do with glass blowing in it. It was interesting because they had a young man that was actually doing the glass blowing. So you'll see him here. He did a great job. He made a little fish that came out, and it came out great. They put you here, let you watch him do it, and he's back and forth to the kiln, off and on, and just adding color and shaping the fish and cutting it. So it was really nice. That didn't take too long. The items there at the glass blowing place are not inexpensive. They're very nice, and they're all handmade, so I don't expect them to be $5. But most people that are on a tour, or many people that are on these tours, they're not looking to buy something as fragile as glass also to take back home. But there are some very nice things. So the AO Rock Formations was our next stop, and this is basically boulders that are piled on top of one another around the island, and they're shown because over time erosion has taken the topsoil and smaller stones and rock away, and it leaves these large boulders. And that's what all of these hills and mountains on this island are made up of, are these boulders that are just kind of hidden underneath a lot of sediment. And once that's washed away, then you have the boulders. So that was pretty interesting. It's a quick little stop there, 30 minutes maybe on this excursion. Went by pretty quick. So our next stop here is going to be Baby Bridge. And this is a natural bridge where the water washes out underneath the stone, and you have a bypass there. This is Baby Bridge. Now on this far side here that I'll show you, and you can see over where those two signs are, that is where the original natural bridge was. It did collapse a number of years ago, and it is no longer. So you have this baby bridge. You cannot walk out over this because of safety. So this is a really nice little stop, but this is also free if you happen to rent a car, scooter, anything like that. Free entry to here as well. So I think that Aruba, it's a great place to visit. It's a beautiful place, but I don't think that this excursion is going to be something that you would enjoy. I want to say the cost of this excursion for myself was about $60, and the value just wasn't there. If my wife had been here, or if we had brought our kids at some point, and you're talking a couple of $100, I would be really disappointed. So make sure that you look at the reviews on the excursions, because I will be adding mine as well. And that did it for Aruba that day. We had a long day there, so a lot of people were just back on the ship halfway through the day and kind of just enjoying the ship. So we moved on the next day to Bonaire. So to me, Bonaire is one of the nicest ports in the ABC Islands, and thoroughly enjoy each time that I've gone there. First time that I was there, I rented a golf cart. This time I rented a car. Cost is about the same. I think it's actually just a slightly less to rent a car, and you get around a little faster. No sense in speeding through, because you're going to stop. You're going to want to see donkeys. You're going to want to see flamingos. You're going to want to see the salt ponds there that they have. So we'll go through a few things here. When you pull into this port, you can see it's very, very nice. You can kind of see the European influence here. Snorkeling, one of the best snorkeling spots in the world. You can bring your own snorkel gear. Many, many places that are designated as snorkeling sites, all up and down the coastline. Now, you're going to want to stay on the one side, on the port side of the island, in order snorkeling, because the other side, it drops off extremely deep, very, very fast, and not going to be a place where you're going to want to go and do some snorkeling. You can see how clear the water is, the fish, beautiful. There's some sites like this. These are slave huts from hundreds of years ago that are still here, and you can still come and see where the people lived that were working in these salt mines. So, not a great place to to memorialize, but it's a it's a fact. So then you've got the salt ponds that are down here. So what they do is they increase the salinity of the ponds, and as it increases, the colors will change. And once it gets to, it's about a pinkish reddish color, and then the salinity has reached the maximum, and they're going to go ahead and let the water evaporate, and then they're going to come through here, and they're going to go ahead and harvest all of that salt. Now, there's there's a gentleman there that you can see these bags here, that he'll sell you 2 empty Ziploc bags for $1. Tons and tons of the little tour vans and people were stopping and buying this, because for $1 you can load up, because there's a large cart of these rock crystal or these salt crystals that you can load up into your 2 bags and take them home. And it's just salt, it's just sea salt, so you can do that. But here's a couple of the bags. As I went around the island this time, I came across the group of donkeys here, and they were hungry. I had a little bit of some sort of breading from something that I had that morning for breakfast, and the donkeys, they were loving it. They were hungry, they wanted some attention, and came right over to the car. I was outside of the car before this, and they started coming over, so I thought I'd get them something, give them a little pet, and that was the donkeys. Right around the island, there's also tons of flamingos that you'll stop and see. But beware, there are some stones, not signs, but there's stones on the sides of the road that are painted yellow or red, and they're going to say, "Do not cross this path." And it's because they don't want you to disturb the wildlife. So stay in the car, or at least along the roadside, and enjoy your day in Bonaire. So that brings us to Curacao. So you can see here the port. The port is very nice. It looks good. There's a lot of places to walk around. You can go to, there's an old fort that's down here. There's a lot of shops, a lot of restaurants, bars, that sort of thing. But you can see just from this how much more populated it looks than Bonaire or Aruba. That's because it is. This is a very large city here. And so it kind of takes away that exotic island feel. It's more of being just in a medium-sized town in the United States. So up to you. You can take an excursion, see some of the points of interest, walk around the port. Either way, I think you're going to have a good day there. And I don't know. That's just kind of my feeling about Curacao. So next up is St. Lucia. I thought that St. Lucia, it very much reminded me, if you see here, of Jamaica. There's a very nice little harbor here. The water is crystal clear everywhere that we happen to stop. But it did remind me of Jamaica, to where it's somewhat mountainous. A lot of houses up in the hills from where you can see from the ship. Once you get going through the mountains, there's a lot of undeveloped land through there. So it's very, very pretty. It seemed to be very clean. People were super nice. A lot of things to see and do there. My excursion was 6 hours long this day. And we did get to see both sides of the island. Excellent guide and driver in our bus. They stopped here and got these little small bananas. There was a complete bunch of bananas straight off the tree that our driver had went and fetched for us and provided. Super sweet, super good little small bananas. This is just another place where you can see how dense the forest is, and you can, as you look out, you don't see a lot of homes all up through there. Now, these two mountains are called the Pitons, Sounds kind of funny. Not the Tetons, but the Pitons. There are excursions that go directly to these. Depending on where you're driving, you can only see one because the other one will hide the other. There's one that is slightly larger, but very, very pretty. A lot of just a lot of interesting places, as small as this island is. But I think that this makes this number 3 for me as far as this list of 8. Um, it's really that nice. The other place that we had gone to was the volcano. We drive right into the crater of this volcano, and you smell a lot of sulfur. Well, there are sulfur mud baths there that you can take. Our excursion, we did not have time for that sort of thing, but there are excursions where you can go and have one of these mud baths. You will smell like sulfur when you come out of there, and some people did say that they've done this before and ruined their bathing suits. So beware of that. But very, very pretty, very neat to be able to drive right into the crater. So I think for me, St. Lucia is probably my number 3 port on this list of 8. Next stop was Grenada. I think that Grenada probably would have been a little bit better for me, but I took a really bad excursion. So I'm kind of doing bad excursions, so you don't have to. So the excursion on this one was about 3 hours long. I believe it said it was supposed to be 4, but it was really mostly a sales pitch. What I mean by that is that we went to what was at one time a rum distillery. I believe part of it still is a rum distillery. Part of it is shut down. It was showing you the historic piece of this here. And this is going to show what the inside of the old factory used to look like. Somewhat interesting, I guess. Very basic. If you are a person that has issues walking up and down stairs, you're going to have to skip a piece of this tour because you do go up some pretty steep stairs and it's not easy for a lot of people. So once going through this piece of an old distillery where they would mash the sugar cane, go through the whole process, then you're led into, of course, the rum tasting center to where you can buy a few little things if you want, but it's kind of the same on any rum tasting tour that you've ever been on. Some taste okay, some taste horrible, but they did have a few little things, rum balls that they had for sale, $3 or $4. They were pretty inexpensive, so it was a little souvenir. Our next stop was here, and this was a tropical garden. And I think this was probably my favorite part of this excursion, if I had to have a favorite part, because this young lady here that was there in the background, she would give you a lot of pieces of plants, and she would say, oh, well, try this. This is lemongrass, or this is basil, or this is clove. Or there were so many different things there that you could taste or smell that she would give to you. They also had cacao, where they would give you one of the cocoa beans, and you could taste that and see what that was like, that it was raw. So the tropical garden piece of this, which you may be able to find on some other excursions or go there directly, was probably worth it. I kind of enjoyed that piece, and that was probably our longest stop. That was about 45 minutes or an hour stop there. Again, I can't really say a whole lot about this port or the island because I took this excursion. One of our last stops was, again, this was a place that makes a lot of these hot sauces, jams, jellies. This is where it's made. I wasn't a big fan of a lot of it. It was not really anything showing you how things were made. It was basically running you through a gift shop, wanting you to test and purchase different kinds of sauces, jams, jellies, and so Not really a great experience on the island. That didn't lend anything to visiting the island. So again, this was Grenada. Um, might be beautiful outside of this tour that I took, but for what I did, it was not really worth visiting. So you did go around here and try certain things. And that was Grenada for me that day. It was basically kind of a waste, I think. Wouldn't mind going back and trying something different and getting out and about and seeing what actually the island or the port has to offer. So then we went to Barbados. Barbados, again, I took a short excursion, about 3 hours. We visited a few little places, some signal stations where they used to take the high points across the island, and they would signal from one place to the other, different signals for different things. Um, this island, I didn't really get a feel for it enough to really say that I did or did not like it very much. It very much like most others. Our excursion took us to this little museum here. Uh, the museum didn't really have anything to offer. They had one short gallery that showed maybe some old tools that were used around the island at one point in time. There were some paintings, and honestly, that was about it. So this excursion was, again, not one I'm going to recommend, but like I said, look in the description for the links to these excursions so you can either select or not select. We then stopped here. This is the signal station. You take a little walk up here, and there's some cannons. There's a few antiques up here, but you can walk up into this signal station, and you can see out for miles. You can see the next signal station. So that's how they would communicate across distances. And you can see here, there's signal stations of Barbados, and it does show you some of the stations and what it was actually used for. Now, if you look out across here, it's very flat. There is not a mountain to be seen, really. There's some large hills, no mountains. So this one is a lot different. It reminded me very much just kind of looking out over a prairie. It's a lot of limestone, they said. That's what our tour guide said. And it just has not ever been any place where there were mountains or fields. Some of the same things grown here as elsewhere, sugarcane, that sort of thing. But the island just did not have much of a feel, especially from the tour that I was on. So I think that maybe in the future I could give a little feedback and help. So this was at another, it's more of like a nursery, to be honest. It's tropical plants. It was nice. It was very very nice, very well done. But it's basically a small path that you walk around, and once you're done with that path, then you're finished with that tour. There wasn't any place else that we went. This was very quick, very brief, and we were back at the ship. So that was really all that I can share about Barbados, at least from my experience. Again, hopefully, I'll visit that port again some other time and be able to get out and about and show more of that island. But that island overall is not hilly, not mountainous, like many of the others. It was very, very flat, to be honest with you. It was kind of like looking out over Texas. So you can do a little bit of research and maybe choose something that would be better, fit for you. So our next to last port here is Antigua. Um, Seeing it from the ship, it was very, very small. Didn't look like there was a lot around it. It was more of a very central, small town. And once you looked off in the distance, I didn't see a lot, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot because there were some hills and things, and I'm sure on the other sides of these hills that there was other things to do. So what I did, I found in town, I went for a walk. I didn't do an excursion this day. I went for a walk and I found this little museum. It's the Antigua Barbuda Museum, and it was under construction. It was still open, but not a lot in there to see, but it was still a little interesting. It's something to go in, take a look around, and you can see old tools, some artifacts from around the area, things that were pulled from the bay. And there was a really nice young lady that was working there. The entrance fee was $3. She gave me a keychain. She just asked which one I wanted, so she gave me a keychain, so that was very nice of her. So after viewing the museum, I went ahead and left, and I went for a walk around the neighborhood, and there wasn't much that was open, and it wasn't really sightly. Now, this is just the small port area. It's right off of the main cruise ship, probably 3 blocks, 4 blocks. Not a whole lot here to see. Would strongly, strongly suggest that if you have Antigua on your itinerary, book you an excursion because there's really nothing in town to see. I think they're really reliant on you getting outside of town. I did find this church. I could see this church from the ship, and it looked really pretty from a distance. I mean, it was nice even up close, but this was a Sunday. I was hoping to get on the grounds, kind of walk around. There was some grave sites and things around there, so I thought that would be interesting to go and take a look at. But all gates surrounding this were locked. They had chains and locks on them. So I'm not sure if this church is still in use or if maybe it was just an off time. Maybe I was too early. It was 11 a.m. though, thereabouts, when I went there. But maybe next time. It was a really nice place. It was huge. So I just thought it would have been nice to be able to go in and take a look around. But couldn't do that. So I did go ahead and keep walking through town, hoping to see that if I could find maybe some local shops that were open, some other things maybe to do. But there was not a whole lot. You can see here that the port itself, there were some shops that were closed. I think I know why, because this was a special sailing. These Carnival sea cruises were special sailings that were not really on some of the schedules. When you looked at the port schedules online, you wouldn't see the ship being in port on the days that we were scheduled. So a lot of vendors and a lot of these shops probably thought there's no ship coming today. In fact, we were the only ship in port on 7 of our 8 port days. I want to say the only port that we were in was in Barbados, maybe, where there was one other ship. So that would probably throw off some of the vendors and some of the scheduling and opening hours and opening days of some of the stores. So can't really blame that on anyone in Antigua, but there is not a whole lot to do at the port itself. Get you an excursion, find some place where you can get out and about. I'm sure that it is a really pretty island. I've seen other pictures of some of the beaches and just the landscape, and it was really nice. Unfortunately, I didn't get to experience that, but we're going to head on to our last port, which was wide open and beautiful and my new favorite. So, my new favorite, St. Maarten. This is probably going to be right up there in my top for some time to come. You can see here we're going on the water shuttle. There is a water shuttle little booth. As you get off the ship, it's not too far in past the regular port area and the port shops. Now, $7, but you can go back and forth all day. You probably won't, but it takes you back and forth for $7. And our boat here today was the Black Mamba, and it did fill up. So I was the first person on it, but it did fill up, and it takes us right over here to the marina. And you can see kind of how this goes all the way down. There's a beach there that goes the length of town here. So we're going to make it to the marina here in a minute. Find our way into the main little boardwalk you'll see here in a moment. But you can see the water crystal clear. This is the marina that there's a lot of sailboats, power boats, all in this area. You can see this little blue bridge. If you see that blue bridge, you're in the right place. So you're going to come down, go around a couple of these little shops, and boom, there is a French bakery. The French bakery, very, very good, rather inexpensive. Great place for breakfast. They had some great rolls. A little almond roll that I had there was super. It was air conditioned, so I sat inside and had my breakfast. Looked outside at the beach. You can see there had the almond roll and a sausage roll. So not a bad breakfast. But it's right across from the beach, and as you walk down, you're going to see how close you are to the beach over here. Everything there on the left is going to go right out to sand. And the further that you go, you're going to start running into umbrellas and chairs and things that are for rent. There's a little playground here and a workout area. But as you get down by these umbrellas and chairs, you're going to start to see signs, because this boardwalk here, I call it a boardwalk, it's paved, it's cement, but there are restaurants and bars on the right hand side as you're walking. And all of these umbrellas and chairs are for rent. You can see how beautiful that water is. So there's a lot of signs that say $25 that you can get an umbrella, 2 chairs, and a bucket of beer. And I didn't think that that was a bad price for all of that for the entire day. 5 beers, 2 chairs, and an umbrella for $25. My understanding is you can also haggle that a little bit. So you might get it for 20, but 25 is not a bad deal. But you can see here how clear and crystal clean this beach is. A lot of people out here swimming. We were the only ship in port again this day. I would imagine at some other times that this could get fairly crowded, but it is a very long beach, so you're going to have a lot of room. You can see all of the chairs and umbrellas that they have here. There's this side is the French side. The island is split between French and Dutch. I didn't even get a chance to go to the other side. So next time, I'm supposed to be there in another week, and I want to go and enjoy this. But I also want to maybe rent a scooter or a car and make my way around the island to one of the famous places, Maho Beach, where you may have seen videos in the past where this is where the airplanes come just feet above the beach, where a lot of people go there just to watch the planes come in. I did not go there this day. One of the reasons for that was because an airplane that had come in the afternoon before had its landing gear collapse, so it was kind of stuck there. So it wasn't going to have any airplanes that were coming in that day, so I opted to not even attempt to go over there. But I did stay in this area, and it's plenty to do for several hours. You can walk up and down. You've got the boardwalk that's right on the beach, and then the one street behind that is many, many shopping areas. One of the shops that I went into, very nice. The gentleman just kind of announced, he said, hey, if anybody wants something to drink, there are drinks in the refrigerator. There was water, soft drinks, and beer. So you were welcome to one of those, no cost. So complimentary drinks in a shop like that is almost unheard of. But it was great. Very nice people, very clean area. Didn't really get any kind of hassle from any of the cab drivers. If you told them no, they would just leave you alone. So, going back here again next week, hopefully I can go see the other side of the island or a couple of the other pieces to share with you. But I hope you can come down and take a visit here at some point in your life because it's a beautiful, beautiful area. So there's just a little bit of the old 80s party that was on the Carnival Conquest the other night. We had a great time. It's been 2 great cruises back to back. I've got 2 more that are upcoming. So tomorrow, people will exit the ship. I will remain on other than to have my passport scanned. And I will be right back on here. Next week I have St. Maarten again. I'm going to bring you some new video next week. There'll be some shorts, but there's going to be some long form video also coming to you because I have Celebration Key, Half Moon Cay, and St. Maarten next week. And then a few new ports to me again the week after that. So I hope that this video was at least a little informative and kind of shows you what those ports look like and what my experience was in them. Some of them were great. Some of them were not so great, and the not so great may have been all my fault because I took a bad excursion. But look in the description and you can kind of find some information on those excursions and take a look at the reviews, and I'll certainly be adding my review onto a few of them. Till that time, thanks for joining me here on my layoff journey, and I will see you in the next port.